welcome to Podcaster Toten. My name's Red.
It's Matt again.
Aloha, it's Tak.
Today we're going to continue our discussion on canonizing gameplay with probably one of the most mind-boggling things to try to canonize into the story. It would be Blackout in Black Ops 4. So for those that don't know, which most people probably wouldn't, Blackout does have some sort of in-story explanation. So basically, in the campaign timeline, sometime in the 2040s, Alex Mason's granddaughter works for the CIA, and she creates something called Project Blackout. That's about the extent of what we know about the project itself. She was also involved with the creation of DNI, which is these neural implants that let you do a bunch of crazy shit that you see in Black Ops 3 in the campaign. But and then also she created something called an archetype, and an archetype is someone that's essentially a clone with all the same memories. So there's an archetype for Frank Woods, Alex Mason, Raul Menendez, and Victor Reznov. So how this all connects to zombies is that one of the cutscenes in these specialist stories that goes into this storyline shows Frank Woods and Alex Mason in Verrückt, which it's definitely Verrückt because it's got the same broken walls and the same color scheme and everything. But it seems to be like it's the Verrückt that takes place in Blackout, the Battle Royale mode. So
that's what I was going to ask. Do you know if it was real Verrückt or Blackout Verrückt?
Yeah, I would just assume it is.
Yeah.
You can't really see anything else outside the little room they're in.
Well, it's also, is it daytime too?
Yeah, it's daytime.
But it was also sort of day during Verrückt.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was more like in the evening. Anyway, let's just splitting hairs.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So basically, it connects it with the specialists from multiplayer. It connects all these worlds, and then with the inclusion of Verrückt, it kind of connects it to Blackout, and by extension, it kind of connects it to the Ether storyline and all these other storylines. And so what we're going to talk about today is the confusion with Blackout as some sort of central point for all these universes to converge. And I think that the quote to best set this off comes from the Pentagon Thief. He says, "This place, it must be a nexus. A great many paths cross here." So what do you guys make of all this confusion?
The first, I hate to answer a question with a question, but with the archetype thing you mentioned, is there any explanation about I know we have physical clones in zombies, but is it just if this is a simulation? I know there was a debate whether or not it was or wasn't, because I think the Vonderhaar quote, but is it maybe a clone of their consciousness that's in the simulation and not a physical one?
See, that's a possibility. It's interesting because Savannah Mason actually does interact physically with Frank Woods. I think they're in a relationship, which is kind of strange, but
I didn't know that.
They do physically interact in some fashion.
But is it physically within the simulation, or
See, that's a good question. The only thing we know is there is calling card art of her with her arm wrapped around him, and then there's the two of them interact in a simulation, a DNI simulation, which is a training mission. But I suppose she could be in a relationship with an AI, but
I mean, I guess both could be true, because we have stuff from the clones in zombies, and then also the quote about JFK's clone. So I mean, maybe it is a thing that they downloaded the consciousness into a body or something like that.
Right.
I mean, thankfully everything can be true, so
right, just just download the consciousness and then just put it inside a body that I guess is what do you
kind of the show,
take their DNA and just make a new? No, I haven't.
Yeah, because it's kind of the idea behind that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm imagining if the clones from Tag and stuff involved their DNA, I guess it wouldn't be that far of a stretch to assume that there's some DNA of Woods or Mason, especially with all their descendant. Well, I guess I don't know if Woods has any kids, but there has to be something around that they can use, right?
Right. But then this begs the question: if all the characters in Blackout, the mode, are archetypes, how did they get the DNA of characters like Nikolai? How do they get the DNA of Scarlet from the Chaos storyline, or Captain Price It's such a strange
The
Yeah,
replacer.
amalgamation,
the
right? Yeah, the
replacer is a big
replacer.
one. I don't know, like the way. So the thing that I always thought of, and there's sort of two parts to this. The first one is that it's kind of going against the rule of canonization of gameplay, but I feel like there is maybe a limit, and some things maybe just for fun or just to promote the game, like the replacer and
Right.
Captain Price might actually they might just be non-canon. I mean, sure, there's the possibility that it's like a multiverse, but I would just assume for now they're probably non-canon. The other thing I thought of was maybe it's kind of like the archetypes are simulated like consciousness, and then the other characters are just uploaded via the DNI. And if we were to connect it to zombies, thinking of like what is it, Purnell and the elemental shard, and sort of like that mind over matter and like astral projection, like maybe there is just a place of pure consciousness that they're kind of tapping into via the DNI, and that would explain why maybe other characters show up that aren't necessarily related to the program. Like if the forest in zombies is the forest from like Black Ops 3, like maybe it's where like the souls or consciousness of people are kind of wandering, and this is sort of the staging ground for Blackout, and it would explain why like people uploaded via DNI or simulated consciousness or like trapped souls, like the people from zombies, maybe they all just kind of coalesce here. If you think of it as some like ethereal staging ground of maybe a place where it's just pure consciousness or like purgatory or something. That's just the way I'm going to reconcile it.
Well, that was going to be my question on purgatory. Was I forget a lot of the mob and the Alcatraz stuff, but like, are there not other times that we've thought that something
Yeah.
in the story is acting as that purgatory role? So like, how do we reconcile multiple
More like
purgatories?
Shadows of Evil.
Shadows
It's
of Evil.
Right.
sort of, kind of.
I think the biggest problem is really Blood of the Dead, because Mob of the Dead makes it seem like it is some type of purgatorial state, and then Shadows of Evil could easily be the same thing. You're marked and they're in some weird like warped world, but then the physical appearance of the Primus crew then kind of throws that into question of like, is it
Well,
physical? Is it not?
I
But
would say consider this. Think about like how Blood of the Dead starts. Everything's normal. They're just on
mm,
Alcatraz, right? They just show up, and then something goes wrong, and Brutus has trapped them there. And then at the end of it, they free all the souls. All the zombies are dead. Brutus
mm,
is gone. That's what happens at the end of Blood of the Dead. But then in Talkative Toten, when Victus gets released from the pods, right? They're in Alcatraz, and then there's zombies. Um, and the explanation I've seen
uh,
for that is like they freed all the souls that were in purgatory, but actual Alcatraz has actually been overrun.
okay.
It's like a
No,
separate entity.
yeah, no, that's a good idea that like it's like the spectral world or whatever is like anchored to like the physical world, and
Hmm.
they keep shifting in between, kind of like how like in the Mob of the Dead cinematic. I guess that sort of explains it, is that maybe they're sort of shifting in between what actually is happening, because I always felt like Richtofen's lab was, I think I mentioned this too before, but like was it created in the like Mob of the Dead Alcatraz or Alcatraz?
Right.
But I guess if it's like it's like a barrier between the world of, I don't know, the living and the dead, or wherever or whatever it may be, and it keeps like kind of like the pendulum keeps swinging back and forth. I guess it explains why they keep showing up. So yeah, I would go Shadows of Evil, Blood of the Dead, Mob of the Dead, and maybe
That
Blackout.
that's a funny way to. We'll save a lot of the Lost discussion for another time, I promise. But the comment of the buffer zone between reality and a sort of purgatory is that's so Lost that I want to explore that further later. That's really interesting.
So if we kind of run with that, then I wonder like if Blackout. I know we compared it to sort of like Revelations, where it's like an amalgamation. Like maybe it is this, maybe it's within the summoning key, or like that's why like who knows if the Shadow Man, why he shows up there. I still think that's kind of maybe more just for the like promoting the game, but if it is
Yeah.
some weird like soul trapped purgatory, that isn't really physical but more like you're either spiritual or like you're just sort of a projection of consciousness. It could maybe just be like a like as what is it, Gersh, or was it Yuri, that like a nexus point for like lost souls that just kind of wind up there. um and maybe that's in part why like the sort of the campaign side and what was it, is it Sarah Mason, like maybe they didn't really know what they're tapping into. So that could also, because I know we see Samantha, so it does seem like there's other forces at play. But if you kind of view it as a place separated from space and time that maybe only like consciousness can visit, it would account for like all temporal kind of like anomalies and why people are showing up from zombies and I don't know. So I think that's what I'm
But
gonna
it
tell
goes
myself.
back to yeah, that could be. I'm thinking about how Brad said, there's a calling card with them with their arms around each other, Woods and Sarah. You're like, it could just be a place where consciouses go, but potentially there's a physical.
I
More
mean,
physical.
maybe what if it's the opposite? Maybe it's like it is like an afterlife and they're trying to pull the consciousness from the afterlife, which results in the archetype because it's like a bastardization of like a, you know what I mean? It could go either way.
Right.
Um, but
Something we didn't even consider. We like before this podcast started was the second map in Blackout, the Alcatraz map. Is there some connection
Right.
between Purgatory
oh
as Mob of the Dead and the main Blackout map? Just the whole
yeah,
mode itself.
yeah, right. That it's funny because I just think, oh, it's sort of falling prey to the thing that I'm talking about. Like think about canonization of gameplay, but I just thought, oh yeah, it's Alcatraz, it's popular, but yeah, it could be important that um, Mob of the Dead is there because it's like on that plane, which also makes me wonder. I know it could have just been a hint to like Zombie Chronicles 2, but don't we also get a lot of weird spectral things going on in Buried? Because you have the Jeb's mom, and then isn't there stuff with the time bomb and like you see
Yeah.
yourself, so like that could also explain why Buried is there as well. Like there are all these like places that are heavily concentrated like on some weird plane that are neither here nor there, but both at the same time.
The Alcatraz map has outside the map at some point they added Icarus, the plane from Mob of the Dead,
Oh,
and
did they?
then yeah, and then like the way you spawn in the map is not from a plane. You spawn in through like a portal.
Like the Grod Krovi. Oh, that's another one, right? Grod Krovi, or yeah, because just they think that that might be a weird purgatorial map as well. But I mean that one's a little bit less
Really?
grounded. I think
Well,
it
that's
was
the red
mainly just because of
eyes.
the red eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
Okay. Okay.
and like
it's
Nikolai's the only
weird.
one alive and all that,
Yeah,
which I can see. But that fracture does go on past that point. But
which is yeah, that's the only thing that's like it's definitely a fracture, but I guess it can be both. Yeah, you do spawn in like that. It kind of reminds me of looks like something out of Metal Gear, but
yeah.
and it's interesting because like I think part of the map too is, I mean, it's obviously just because they didn't want to make everything zombified and maybe they had the assets, but like you have like normal parts of Alcatraz and then you have the sort of like hellified versions simultaneously.
Well,
Like and those are the ones obviously where the map zombies map take place, but like the when they were building the map, the if I remember correctly, like the rest of Alcatraz kind of looks normal, which I don't know, is that intentional or not
yeah.
intentional?
Actually, I'm forgetting. I forgot before, but like in the middle of the map, like in the main building, they
Mm-hmm.
added an update at some point. There's like these like spore looking things. I think it's supposed to be like prima materia from the Chaos storyline.
Yeah, is
Those
it
little
like
spore things.
is it like black and red and then there's
Yeah.
like pustules of, yeah, that's
hmm
prima materia, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
So that's
is,
another connection to
well,
Chaos and another crossing point.
you just reminded me. The guns, they're not
Mhm.
chalk drawings. They're the chaos the like the
Oh
alchemical
yeah,
sort of like
that's right.
summoning symbols, so which is just weird.
hmm
Um and I know Blightfather, aside from the Chaos crew themselves, the Blightfathers I think show up in
Yeah.
Blackout. I'm trying to think. What I feel like I know I've seen the Warden, Brutus, Hellhounds. Doesn't something else spawn in Alcatraz. I feel like there was something else. Maybe I'm wrong. It was just Hellhounds and the Warden.
Oh,
But
Brutus does spawn. Oh, he
yeah,
did at one point. I think he will in the main building. I know he did
I
at
thought
some point for sure.
I thought there was like a third. I don't. Yeah, I thought there was some other thing. But
There was a plane you could shoot down. I don't know if it was Icarus,
oh, I didn't know
like a
that.
care
That's cool.
package thing, but
Yeah, there's definitely
there's a
some
lot going on.
weird things. And I think that kind of, if you want to expand that um, even further, you have the multiplayer maps, which then are they simulations? You know what I mean?
That's what I was gonna. Which is
You
such
should
a
like
like
go
a
into, I was gonna say that you should go into the recent maps that were added Black Ops 4, like Der Schatten and the museum map.
right. Yeah, I wanted to connect this even to right. I mean, like the just the World of War maps that got turned into zombie maps, so to speak. Like yeah, just the role of multiplayer is fascinating. Just given in Black Ops how much we think of it as. I guess I don't know. I guess I'm failing to think of the references, but maybe that was campaign more. But
Well, I think like the thing that the three good examples that kind of come to mind is the sort of zombie operation, and then the one map that came before the zombie operation, the sort of like a precursor, because the multiplayer maps are rooted in the campaign universe, and I know Black Ops 4's sort of themes for each what was it what's it called, not season, I guess season,
Operation.
whatever. Yeah, operation. i'm I don't think they featured the specialists like the heist events. Like there obviously was a story behind each of those maps, but it seems like some of the maps wouldn't feature the specialist and some would.
Yeah.
Like the heist one, I don't think so. But there is one that might feature the specialist, and it's like the excavation site map. I forget, it's Iceland or Greenland. But the weird thing is that the thing they're excavating is it's like this organization, they call the Museum of Unnatural History, and they have all these like occult artifacts, and they're excavating the Odin statue from the Chaos series. And then if that is, and I think the specialist might be involved because I think the story is that the original excavation team was like driven out or killed by like a group of mercenaries, and then I don't know if you're playing as like a response team, which kind of seems like something more in line with the specialist than like stopping a bank robbery. But what's even weirder is that the follow-up map to it is the museum itself, set in Louisiana, the like in the bayou somewhere, and they feature artifacts from Chaos and Ether, and there's a zombie outbreak there. So those maps are sort of like directly connected because there's even a stage, like I think it says like coming, and it's like where they're building a set for the Odin statue. And then the other zombies map is, I think, was it like Der Schatten, and it's
Yeah.
supposed to be near Der Eisendrache, and you can hear Primus talking if you're inside one of the giants' heads. And I think it said online, right, that the specialist got like teleported there or something, like through
Yeah.
like some time travel. So like there is this weird connection of that those maps, because of their proxy through the campaign universe, does seem to pull it into Blackout and make it seem like there is some weird canon between Ether Chaos and the campaign universe. So make of that what you
I
will.
yeah, and I remember now the old reference I was thinking of. Ethan, do you remember in Black Ops the snow map that was out like in I think it was in Antarctica, and there was it was a research facility base, and there are across the map there are like very unique things to zombies, like the power control switches and like writings on the walls to go find power, um, and stuff like that. It brought back a lot of. Let me see if I can go find the name of that map.
You just reminded me because there's a bunch of other like weird. They could just be Easter eggs, but references to um, zombies and multiplayer. And I feel like we're forgetting the biggest one because I know there was, I think, a book by Richtofen in which actually makes more
Right.
sense given Alpha Omega in Nuketown. But like Nuketown was then pulled into zombies, so
Hmm. Yeah.
there's a bunch of other stuff too. I think from like little Easter eggs here and there
I
that you
know there
find.
was like Primus statues and some Black Ops 3 maps. Just
Really,
little ones. Yeah. Oh, and there was definitely at some map in Black Ops 3 there was a blueprint for the wave gun.
Yeah, I think
Switch.
Okay,
Was
here,
it
let me
the-
read this off to you. Sorry. So it was called Discovery. It was Discovery is a map based around a desolate, frozen German outpost in the Antarctic Circle, based
yeah.
around the campaign mission Project Nova. We know that one around here.
Yeah, I mean that even the whole I know yes, it's kind of like the campaign universe is about like MK Ultra and stuff, but it's also very fitting to zombies too. The whole like Nazi research base, because there's like the whole theory of like the Hollow Earth and how the Nazis went there through like Antarctica and stuff like that. So like yeah,
Right.
it's like a very fitting map to have
All
zombies.
right. Do you want to go one level deeper to your earlier point, Rad? About
one level further down the rabbit hole.
yep. Just because I'm thinking of it, just the fact that we've got Captain Price in there, and just about Call of Duty, and whether whether the whole Call of Duty, like is Treyarch its own multiverse, and
Is Call of Duty a series in Call of Duty?
yeah.
Yeah, because then yeah, you have Captain Price, but then the replacer being there. I mean, unless
he could be like an advertising icon for the
Call of Duty, yeah.
series. Yeah.
But is it like it? Like you said, is it from like a separate universe where Call of Duty is somehow just mirrored in video games, or like is Call of Duty its own series and the Call of Duty within Call of Duty is maybe something different, but the replacer is still the replacer.
Right. And are the zombies characters like fictionalized characters in the series? That's a good question.
It's kind of funny because I feel like the zombies characters probably have the most clout to actually not be fictional. But it's the replacer is. I don't know. I mean, like even stuff with like the cosmic silverback. I mean, maybe because the one thing that I just never gotten in, especially in Blackout, is like the Shadow Man's there, but like the Shadow Man also has the ability to sort of warp reality. So why is he so handicapped? So maybe if it is like his like, yeah, maybe he's just there for fun.
Just having a good time.
But like if he is like some type of like trapped soul or something, maybe he's limited in his ability.
Right.
But
Man. All right, sorry for the rabbit hole. I just had to pick your brains.
no, I mean
it's okay.
It's a can of worms. And
right.
So that might be a good place to wrap up this episode. Also, you guys have anything else?
No, that's pretty much it.
Well, we'll see you next time. See ya.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.